influencer marketing is very female dominated.
Some of them I've just started with them when they had like just a few thousand followers, and now they're up to like 4 million plus.
There are so many excuses and like reasons that get in our own way.
The word authenticity is so overused.
What if you do want to work with people who have 5 or 10,000 followers? Do you think that same level of care is necessary?
People who follow beauty influencers probably follow multiple beauty influencers, which means that they will see this ad probably multiple times. And you're asking me to send the same script to multiple influencers, which means they'll get the same message the exact same way every single time.
I do feel that brands are getting a little tighter on that performance. Awareness is important, but a trend that I feel is very important this year is...
Welcome to the Ready, Set, Click podcast, where we talk digital marketing strategies. Grab a coffee or something a little stronger and settle in for this episode.
Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ready, Set, Click podcast. My name is Paul Kahn. I'm joined by Jesse Grossman, the founder of Women in Influencer Marketing. Welcome, Jesse. How are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm doing great. And we also have Shoshana Cutler, the founder of social media, I should say. Excuse me. Welcome, Shoshana.
Hi, Paul. Hi, Tanya. Thanks for having us.
We're very excited to have you. And thank you for also introducing Tanya Elaine, who is the VP of Marketing here at Upfluence. Welcome, Tanya.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
All right. Well, I'm excited to have all of you here because this is a really important conversation, which is how we can really make women come to the forefront in influencer marketing in many different ways. And I want to talk to all three of you about where you are in your journey up to this point. So I'm going to start with you, Jesse, as the founder of Women in Influencer Marketing. What brought you to this point?
I mean, so much. We have a whole, how long do we have?
Well, we have it. I mean, for those of you who are just joining us, we went through the introduction 3 times, so we have plenty of time.
So we have a minute left.
Yeah, we're good.
So what brought me to this point? Well, everyone has a different entryway point into influencer marketing. Mine happens to be in like very traditional old school media. I worked at a talent agency that's been around since the 70s, originally representing actors in commercials and then launching their influencer department. I was kind of excited by like the promise of what influencer marketing could be. To me, the world that I was coming from felt, well, transparently, it felt a little stale. It felt like there wasn't as much opportunity and it felt regulated and people were just staying in those positions that I wanted for decades. They were my parents' age and they weren't going anywhere. And I was like, well, where does that leave me? Like, what can I do? I want to make an impact. Like, that's really the biggest thing that's most important to me. So I launched that and I started to, make money and they paid attention. And I don't think anyone truly understood what I was doing, but dollars, speak and count. And so they were giving me, resources that I needed, et cetera, et cetera. But I wanted to meet new people to bring my clients deals. I wanted to learn about this because I love having mentors and I had mentors, but, generically in business, not specifically to influencer marketing. So I came up with a name. I was like, WIM, Women in Influencer Marketing. Interesting. And we threw an event. Like literally I invited people like who I'd had an email exchange with and got one other person who I had a few emails exchanged with and said, why don't we like invite people to an event here in New York City years ago, like 2017. And we got like 75 people at this event. We had a panel and a mixer and then we launched a Facebook group. And the premise of it was, I think there's something really special that influencer marketing is very female dominated. Let's lean into that. I've always been very passionate about women in business and the power that we have and the opportunities that we can make for ourselves and help each other and support each other. And once I ended up years later selling my own talent management company, I was like, oh crap. I don't know what to do at this point. I was like, I could go work for somebody else. I can go start something totally new. Or I could like really give this whim thing like a real shot. Cause at that point it was like a total passion project. It was not monetized. It was not formalized. Like it was just fun.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did. And now today we have a whole full on membership community, resources, the whole nine, but at its core, and I think like what I love just sharing is like the power of the community itself and how everybody in it is so supportive and so hungry to do better and to be their best. And it's just this like-minded community of women who are like doing the damn thing and influencer marketing. So it's a little bit about whim.
That's so fascinating. And I'm going to want to talk a little bit more about that as we keep going. But Shoshana, can you tell us a little bit about how you started social media?
Yeah.
First off, I love that name.
So good.
It reminds me of times when I needed to work on my pronunciation a little bit, but that's okay. But it's important to be social.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And, we're socializing right now, having a good time. I used to always like have play on words with my name. So 15 years ago, I started in the media industry and I was in digital publicity and I loved it. It was like sales, but without like the dollars attached to things, right? Like I would be begging, Fandango and Apple to put up our trailer and negotiate for like that front spot. But I always said to myself, I want to go into a little bit more of like a sales path. I enjoyed that. So I made my way over to working at an ad network. We were talking earlier about this company, Glam Media. It was like the early days of blogger influencer marketing, right? Where you have, these websites where it'd be like a huge push down ad unit that would like bleed like Unilever body wash into the ad next to it. And then you'd have like this beautiful blogger post. And those were sort of like my OG days. And then I went to larger companies like NBC Universal. And, I said to myself, I love this company. It's great. But I'm in this smaller part of the industry. And I didn't go to grad school, but I'm going to make this my grad school. So I really focused on the connections and building my network. I thought, your network is part of your net worth as you sort of grow and decide and evolve with your career. And then, I said I wanted to start chasing where the media was going, right? Where advertising was going. I always sort of specialized in partnerships. So then I went to social first environments. I was over at Complex and I loved how they were doing video and sort of just being loud in the space. And it was so impressive. And then I actually boomeranged back to NBC Universal. My mentor at the time was Linda Yaccarino, and her and I both went to Penn State. And it was one of those like early connections. And I went back and I was working on the digital side of like BuzzFeed and Snapchat. And then I said, okay, like it's nice to kind of do this again, but I'm going like social. So I went to Betches and pardon my French, Fuck Jerry and Daquan and Social Chain. And I pitched them why they needed a salesperson to monetize memes. Like I just wanted to have fun and not take, life so seriously in advertising. So I ended up getting a job offer from all of them. Everybody needed that, right? And I went to Betches and I was there for 3 years and I built their entire sales and partnerships across, monetizing across, 13 podcasts and newsletter and starting new verticals. It was really exciting for me. And then I said to myself, I'm building for everybody else. And I sort of had to change my acumen in some areas to sort of like do it in ways that I didn't necessarily think and trust. And I said, I'm going to do it myself. And I took all that experience, all the connections I made, and I said, management is an interesting space. I feel like the old school mentality of like agents and all of that, there were a lot of, men in those positions. And I was seeing more shifts in the influencer marketing side with women. So I said, I'm going to take all of my rules and my playbook. I'm going to start my own company and I'm going to sign these creators and really lead with management and mentorship. And I've worked with these creators who, some of them I've just started with them when they had like just a few thousand followers, and now they're up to like 4 million plus. And while I managed them and I mentored them so much in the beginning, now it's an even playing field with how our relationship evolves, because they're now going into all these different spaces that I'm helping to guide them. And it's such a good time. I know that was very long-winded, but the journey has been really exciting. And it took me that long to really figure out what I wanted to do.
Well, I just want to say, having listened to it, did not feel long-winded
Yeah.
to me,
Not
just
at-
so you're
not
clear.
at all.
Yes.
Very interesting.
Really interesting. And I want to ask you a couple questions
Yes.
about it. But Tanya, I want to also give you a chance to talk about your journey to working in influencer marketing on your side.
Yeah, well, thanks. Influencer marketing back then was just starting. It's not gonna, talk about age or anything, but it was not what it is today. It was, you had a couple bloggers, a few people on Facebook, couple Facebook groups, and then it just blew up. And I just loved the whole aspect of influencer marketing, how people were putting messages out there about products and things that really touch them and things that they really love. And from that, I sort of found my way in digital marketing and marketing as a whole. And then I moved to women in tech, I guess, working at, before Upfluence, I worked on with a different tech company in CRM, a whole different other sphere of tech. And then found my way to Upfluence and been there for a few years, almost a year now, and love it. It's great to be part of, not just the tech industry, but the marketing industry, and just understanding how it's evolving. It is today, influencer marketing as a whole is taking more and more space, and it's great to be a part of it and having a voice and an impact on it.
Okay. So the first thing that I'd love to follow up on is this concept of mentorship, because both of you actually use the word mentorship. And I know, Tanya, you've had many mentors
Yes.
in your roles as well. I would love to hear from you how you think about mentoring talent,
Yeah.
because I think a lot of people would be interested in that. So like, are there metrics that you care about? Is it style stuff that you care about? You also mentioned emotional intelligence. Obviously that matters. So when you're thinking about taking somebody on, what do you want to see with that creator that says, this is somebody I want to mentor?
Oh, that's a great question.
Thanks. That's my job.
Yeah, I sort of have an eye for those people. And then when I get them on the phone or I take them to coffee, you can really break them down. And the word authenticity is so overused. Everyone's like,
It's so inauthentic. It's so inauthentic at this point.
But I look for those people, and it's just a connection and their ability to sort of come out and share with me everything that they want, but then me breaking down those walls and saying, like, what are your dreams? Like, this is a safe space. What did you always see yourself doing when you were like dancing in the mirror or having conversations with yourself? My goal is to really, when I see the talent, help them harness that. And we never take the traditional path. It's like, oh, you have to first get, be a part of SAG and then get an agent to do these roles and all these. I'm like, we're going to do it how we do it and strap in. So I really help them through all the different, places that I've worked and roles that I've taken on. I've learned the hardest part is sometimes where do you start and how do you start? And I have a lot of great connections, and it's really easy to just help them get started. But I pick the ones that I can also think like. They skew more female, or they have a female audience, and it's more in like the comedy and lifestyle space. I like to laugh and have fun and really bring that out of them. And then we sort of build the foundation of like what their career is going to be. So I mentor them the entire way, and it's been incredible.
So, all right.
Dive in more.
I'm going to dive in. I want some, a couple of thoughts. Like, if you're working with a new talent, would you identify certain people as being better on certain media platforms?
Yeah, for sure.
Are there certain people who, for you, you're like, you know what you want to be doing, you should be on Instagram. What you want to be doing, you need to be leaning hard into TikTok.
Yeah, for sure.
Like
the platform matters. It's more of their community. And, they usually start to build on one community, and then we sort of decide, where can this translate well? Like, where do you want to focus? It's hard to sometimes be on every single platform and master it. I'm going to give an example of, one of my creators. I called it like an oopsie creator. She was the one who never used social media. Her mom was like, make a TikTok, and she made it, and she's so naturally funny. And then she walked away from it. And then her now fiance called her and said, yo, T, you have 10 million views on your video. And it was like, what? And that's when I went and I reached out to her, and I found her on Instagram where she had 1,000 followers, where her TikTok was going boom, 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 boom. And I knew that she didn't know what to do. So I reached out to her, and we immediately established a connection and relationship. And She signed me as her manager, and I helped her, grow on TikTok where she was booming, but really start to foster the community on Instagram. And those have sort of been like her main ones. Now we're sort of branching into other ones, but it's really the community was growing itself, and they were asking for more and helping her to inform her content because she didn't really know what she was going to do next. And that's really where I sort of came in. Have you seen the skits with the Heaven's receptionist, the woman who goes, "Hello, my name's Denise. How are you? Welcome to heaven."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's Taryn. She literally started with no followers, and we started from the beginning, and it's really helped her grow and be a star on all these platforms.
Do you find there's some platforms that are better used for other things? Like,
Yeah.
You mentioned building more of a relationship on Instagram. Is that, where you find it's easier to build that relationship than TikTok?
Yeah. I would say for most of my creators, Instagram is the best place to grow and foster and really understand and get feedback from their communities. TikTok as well, but TikTok can be very volatile with just views and just, I think, a lot of different things. Instagram, I feel, is everybody's like favorite for consistency purposes. But TikTok is great because you never know. Like there could be huge swings and a lot of learnings from there too. But yeah. But there's some platforms that are not going to make sense for them. Like some of them started later on YouTube, gave it a shot, stuck with it. Like I have Erin Miller. She does all the nostalgia ones, Over the Moon, Far Away. We spent a little time growing on YouTube. It took us maybe like 4 months to get 10K. And then boom, now she's almost at 1 million. And it just like grew like wildfire. And then she had to start fostering that community and asking them what they wanted to see more of. So
that's fascinating. So with women in influencer marketing, right, I know that mentorship is a big piece of that as well, right? So can you give a good sense of how, Shosh already knows everybody. And I mean that, and like, that's phenomenal, but is part of the idea that women in influencer marketing can have Shosh helping out some of these new people that are coming in and wanting to learn?
Yeah. So I'll take it back a beat because I'll be very transparent. We almost scrapped our mentorship program. And I bring that up because I think it's really important. We almost scrapped it because I was putting a lot of hours into it and a lot of energy and effort, and not enough women were raising their hand to take advantage of it. And yet I was like, if I'm thinking like a straight up business person, I would scrap it. I would just get rid of it and focus on something else that's getting more engagement in our community. But I didn't want to do that because I think mentorship is so incredibly important. So I made the hard decision to just reimagine it and figure it out. And so we've started to. It's gotten so much more traction since. And I think that framing what mentorship is really important, because I think mentorship and the word itself has this very particular connotation. It's like, I am junior, you are senior. I have so much to learn from you and you have all the answers, and help me. And people feel uncomfortable with so many aspects of that. And what the ideal mentorship scenario in my mind is it's an even playing field. Everybody can learn from everybody. So the mentor is learning from the mentee and vice versa. And also that it's such an opportunity. And there's the book Lean In, right? And it's just such a phrase that really resonates with me, because what I started this telling you, we almost scrapped it. Why? Because not enough women were raising their hand. You have to opt into mentorship. You have to opt into to meeting new people, to connecting with new people, learning from them, and just bettering your career. And not enough people were taking a back seat to that based on, fear or trepidation or whatever it is that gets in all of our way.
Well, sometimes
fear
it's
of the
just
unknown.
a fear of the unknown, fear of knowing where to start, as Shosh was talking about.
Totally. Where to even start, So we tweaked it and we brought, new mentors in, and it's just really taken off more than it was before. And I guess the one thing that I do want to get across that's just particularly important to me about mentorship is My idea personally of like a really fulfilling life is one where I'm like learning things my entire life. Like I never stop learning. That's just so personally fulfilling to me. And so this idea that it has to be this junior, senior, I'm bigger and better in some capacity than you, like that's so stale. That's so not in the world that we live in anymore. And so I really encourage not just our, like newly to influencer marketing women who have joined, members who have joined to take advantage of it. Oh my God, you just want to meet someone at YouTube or Pinterest or some other incredible company, or somebody who's just has their own company and, has done incredible things. You have an opportunity to chat with them one-on-one without interruption for a full hour. And we facilitate that. But it takes, there are so many excuses and like reasons that get in our own way. And the psychology of it all is just really fascinating to me personally. So I don't know. We all just have to like get out of our own way and like reach out and connect with other people,
Can I plus up something she said?
Go ahead and plus up.
What I love about Wim and what Jesse's doing is, we said everything was so sterile, right? And she really wanted to change that. Everything that she does is very personal. And it's not like, oh, I'm this person. You can't ask me this. You have to ask this way. Like the way that she writes her newsletter, the way that she, conducts the meetings and gets everybody together. She's very personal. And it makes it warm and comforting to be a part of this community. You mentioned that I always have somewhere to start and a contact to go for. A lot of times, sometimes it's because I have access to Wim.
Mm-hmm.
If people don't understand, how somebody uses it day to day, and I'm not trying to just like, but it's true. I was working at companies with thousands of people, right? Now it's just me, and it's me and my creators. And then I freelance, lawyers and other things. I feel like I have coworkers. When I'm in Slack, I have a second opinion, and I have places to start to help my creators start. I have my trademark lawyer because of Wim and Jesse. I'm working on my website because of a reference from Jesse. It is a resource and it is a community, and there are no egos there. And you have different perspectives from the industry of people like me who are, working with the creators. You have people on the agency side that are sourcing talent. You have, people who are even curious of where they want to go next and what side, what they want to do. It's phenomenal, and it's really helpful for me in my business.
Okay. So one thing I always want to provide to the listeners is some real tangible nuts and bolts stuff. And since we do have you here, Shoshana, I'd love to ask you, if I'm a brand and I want to be reaching out to some of your high profile creators, what are the kinds of things you want to see from a brand? And what are the kinds of things that when you see it, you're just like, oh God, please leave me alone?
Gotcha. Number one, on partnerships, it's important to do a little bit of outbound and inbound to mix it up to go for their dream partnerships. But when they come to you and they want to work with you, let me tell you some of the red flags. The red flags are super rushed timelines. You feel like you're one of like 20 or 30 people. They're really just kind of like filling spots, right? They give you a brief and you ask questions about level of creative freedom, and there really isn't any. And there's like zero room for negotiation, and it feels icky, right? You're just sort of like a person to fill a spot.
Are brands still doing that?
Oh my God, yes.
Like
there's
so strict on the
There's
brief?
a handful of agencies that I share inboxes with my creators. Some managers have said, oh, don't do that. Then they're going to be following up with you. I'm like, it's their business. We have a good relationship. I want them to see what comes to them, and how I handle it. I move them off after, the first email goes out. But so there's a few and they get excited. I'm like, don't get too excited. I know how this one goes. What we like to see is when they come with like an example. We love this person because we saw this skit and we really liked how they did XYZ. And we also like loved this branded video. And we want to give you some guardrails, but we want you to create it how you want to create it. So the biggest green flag is when we can have creative control. I usually respond with a lot of those questions. How many creators are part of this campaign? How much time do we have? Are you willing to work with us? Can we pitch you ideas? Like, what is your timeline like? And the ones that kind of fit those needs are the ones that work the best, where they're letting us drive. I saw examples where clients were like, yeah, you can drive. And then we start the process and it's like, no, no, no. They say they want to have fun, but they don't want to let us have fun. And in those instances, we might say, okay, listen, I know how this is going to go now. These are our 3 options. This is the best one that we recommend. And when they pick like the last one and then performance suffers, I can be very nice and polite, but it's a little like, I told you so. Come to us and trust us. Those are the partnerships that work best and feel like partnerships.
I mean, the people that know best their audience is the
Exactly.
influencers. So you need to give them that space
Yes.
to do it the way that they know their people will love.
Exactly.
And I feel like, I mean, like I said, I started in influencer marketing when it was just beginning. And yeah, the brands were very much driving the content because you didn't really know, right? You were learning as you went.
Us, you know?
But now I feel like brands should almost know better and make sure that they it's not supposed to feel like a brand ad. It's supposed to feel like someone else talking about your brand. So if it sounds like it's your brand talking, it just feels like an ad to me.
Yeah.
So.
And on the creator side, I will say, and then I want Jesse to weigh in a little bit, is there are some creators, not my creators, we've trained them, that when they do a branded campaign, they like turn on this like ad voice and they become somebody that they're not. And I love when I play this game and I'm like going to the feed and I'll get like half the video on the screen. I'm like, that's an ad. I know it's an ad. Oh man, I wish that like they would work on that a little bit more, because don't put on the ad voice. We're coming to you for who you are. Be yourself. Don't change because it's an ad.
We talk about that as radio voice. Sometimes I actually have to tell some of our salespeople, thank you. But like if you hear somebody and they're doing radio voice, what I always hear is they don't know their story. They're depending on a vibe that says, hey, let me sell this to you.
A script almost.
As opposed to, I believe in this thing. So I think that's really important. And it's hard.
It's hard.
Getting these things right is not easy. And I'd love to, for all of you have so much experience in various levels of this industry. Can you talk a little bit about some of the challenges that people face on the brand side, on the talent side, all of that?
Well, I was going to speak to, look, from where I sit, I get a lot of different vantage points. So when I hear, like, I used to be manager, so I feel everything that you're saying. You are speaking the truth. However, I know sort of like where the truth is like, well, why are brands doing those cringy red flag things if don't we all see that it's just ineffective? Like, why would they keep doing it? What is that about? And, look, the reality is that like a lot of people are sort of like fighting for their job these days and like trying to prove their worth. And so, if you want to be the agency of record and take responsibility for, something performing well, you want to, a lot of people assume you have to have a heavy hand in it. Like, or else what am I doing here? Why wouldn't the brand just go directly to the creator? And so I think that like a lot of these decisions are ego-based, fear-based, and that's the problem. But we're all humans. Like, I understand the fear-based component, very much. Like, it's very real. I get it. So what do you do with it? Hopefully you can learn to check your ego at the door and just like say, like, for the purpose of the work, for the purpose of the work being rich and effective, like we should communicate better. We should figure out how this can be effective and work collaboratively. Because the fear-based thing, certainly is not working.
I think the brands are scared often to go too far from almost their brand identity, in the sense that like they know it could work to work with an influencer because, they've seen it. They perhaps have seen other campaigns and they're thinking we'd love to do something like that, but they're scared of stepping the toe outside of the strict guidelines of the brand, the brand vision and the brand side of things. And I think that blocks a lot of brands because they're like, oh, we love it, but not too much, And so, I think it is a matter of saying, okay, check your fear at the door, or, go a different way, I guess.
Just like I would love to see more people leaning into like experimentation, testing, and learning, and saying like, we're not necessarily going to nail this per se, but we're going to learn from it if we don't. And like just going into it with that mentality of like, let's experiment, let's figure this out together. And, I think that so much more will come from that. I feel like, I don't know, a lot of people at the beginning of the creator economy and even to this day, like they went into it and they saw how much, money was being floated around and how it was more effective than maybe other ways that people were advertising previously. But the industry didn't mature as fast as I would have thought that it would. And so now I'm seeing people being held more accountable and saying like, no, like I need to see this perform. And so they're kind of like going the opposite way, like very like counter that. The sweet spot is certainly somewhere in the middle. Like we can't just do all campaigns for awareness anymore. Yeah. Some of them are fine. Agreed. Most of them, like you need to see some sort of something from this, like some sort of ROI from this. But from a creative perspective, no creative person, whether a creator, entrepreneur, however you want to define yourself, like no influencer wants to have, this dictated, prescriptive campaign to work on and will still feel as if they can be creative. Like think to yourself, like when you're most creative, like what's the environment like? Like, are you looked at like with a microscope or are you given more freedom? And so like that environment, that communication, like, and it starts from the very beginning of like an outreach to a manager where it's like, I don't want to be treated like I'm one of 1,000 people that you're reaching out to. And we all know that this is a templated email, but like, can you at least try to make it not sound like it is? Like if I ask you a few questions, like, can you just engage with me? Cause like, I'm also a human and like, I think that would help this whole thing along.
Yeah, I agree. And they get a bullet list of questions and we'll know right away what the vibe is. To your point, I think that some of these brands are trying to learn a little bit more and be open. And what I do under my, social media is I'll work with them on it. We don't want to just post, fine, we'll take your feedback and we're just like going to do it. And it feels like a lazy ad because I've trained them all to care so much about what their community says and where it has to hit. So what I do as the middle woman is I will make a case. We love to push back, but sometimes you don't know who you're dealing with on the other end. Maybe they just need the ammo and the understanding to push back to whoever else they have to push back on. So I take the time to explain it to them over the phone or like write them the blurbs that I guarantee you they're going to pass along and give them the proof because that is the partnership element that we bring to this where I feel like some managers just kind of like want to get through it. And we put a lot of personal touch into it because we want it to feel like a really good partnership that they're proud of and we're proud of.
Yeah, I remember when I used to do campaigns, I used to tell, because my manager was very much more into like the script, send them a long script. And I was like, oh, okay, it's going to get a little bit boring. And I used to tell her, because I used to work in beauty, I used to say, people who follow beauty influencers probably follow multiple beauty influencers, which means that they will see this ad probably multiple times. And you're asking me to send the same script to multiple influencers, which means they'll get the same message the exact same way every single time. Do you know how boring that's going to get for the audience? Because at the end of the day, that's who you're talking to. You're not talking to the influencer, you're talking to the influencer's audience. And I said, don't you want to have the same message passed on differently according to the audience as opposed to having 20 times the same message passed on but to the same people, right? So I think bringing that, back to the mind of people and saying, you're catering to an audience. You're not catering to one person here. And we need to make sure that message hits every single person, no matter who they follow or where, You
were talking about performance and awareness and conversions. I do feel that brands are getting a little tighter on that performance. Awareness is important, but a trend that I feel is very important this year is fewer, better, best partnerships for creators. And that is more long-term. Yeah. Sometimes if you just see one ad that is like a burst of a campaign, it may not get the direct results that you're looking for. And
drop in the water.
Exactly. We like to build in longer term partnerships and creatively storytell over time. Like for example, if I have 4 videos locked in, we sort of have an idea where we're going to start. And then we say, the community is going to help us write the rest of these instead of just giving you all 4 at once.
I love that.
And that helps because you're listening to them and they're like, we want to see more of that character. That character comes in, make this a series. We're like, that's it. And then people feel closer to the brand. Like I did this campaign with Taryn and Lily Pulitzer, and you would have never really like associated her and her style with Lily Pulitzer. And she did the first video and there was this character, Vivian. People were like, I want more Vivian. And then we just did Vivian in every season. And then we ended with Vivian in Florida. And people were like, they would say, I just bought this Lily Pulitzer dress. I never would have thought I would have ever bought that, but like you influenced me. So it started with the awareness, but we converted them over time through storytelling and involving the audience like they were, directors and producers as well. So yeah.
I love
Um, I wanted to go back on the fear ego bit, because I think it's really interesting, because I do think there is a place for brand safety that we have to be aware of, which is different than dictated creativity.
Sure.
Because I think right now we are seeing that some brands are getting backlash from some of their partnerships, but that was more of in my sense, more of a brand safety issue than a creativity issue. I just want to, that was my only point that I thought was
well, it's a great point. And, I think we all need to be more empathetic to your point, to like all different aspects of this, these relationships. And from a brand perspective, imagine being Budweiser,
Bud Light is a huge,
oh my
huge
God.
moment.
Imagine and then Target had a similar thing. And you can name so many companies. The reality of the world that we're living in is that you're never going to please everybody. So I'm sure it does really benefit these brands to sort of reassess who is our target market? Maybe do we want to go out into a slightly different market and really get as specific as humanly possible about that, so that when you do inevitably have people who are anti something that you're doing, you're it's okay. We're still on track though, because we set this, this is who our demo is and they don't fall within that, and it's okay. But they got to navigate so much. So everyone's just trying to do the best that they can and navigating it in this insane world that we live in right now. I don't empathize that, I don't want to be in their position,
It's hard when you put yourself and your brand out there for millions and millions of people to see. It does get hard to try and toe the line and not upset anyone, and it's impossible to be honest. So you put yourself out there and you, I guess, hope for the best as you move forward.
I do have one question, when because you're coming at this, Shoshana, from a what we would call a higher end creator environment, very boutique, people who have performed, people who have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of followers. If someone was looking at smaller creators, how would you change the way that you would think that a brand should reach out? Because it's harder. Obviously, if you're reaching out to someone who has millions of followers and you're not being very specific as to why you want to work with that person, that's giant red flag. But what if you do want to work with people who have 5,000 or 10,000 followers? Do you think that same level of care is necessary?
Yeah, I think if they're reaching out for them or out to them, then they saw something in, what their content was and what their craft is. So if you are that smaller creator, I would encourage you to continue to hone in on that and deliver that, when the brand comes to you, and stay true to that. But I think in business in general, if you're reaching out to someone, to have it be personalized and, why you want them to partner with you and consider you, because it's a consideration on both ends, right? Mm-hmm. They may be more eager to jump on it and it's money and they're growing, but it is important to understand why, someone's reaching out to you and what they want from you. I always say, what do you like about them? Why did they come up on your list? So then you're kind of delivering them things that that they like, just to make sure. So ask those questions and feel good about it, but treat it the same way and find balance in that partnership, but know why they came to you. And it's important.
That makes sense.
Women in influencer marketing, just a quick question. For those influencers who perhaps are new to the game, let's say, or don't have an agent or someone to help them, they can reach out to Women Influencer Marketing for help, correct?
So WIM is this very unique community where our demographic are women who hire influencers or work with influencers. So the influencers themselves can certainly listen to our podcast, like follow us on social, things like that. But our members, the women who are in our community, they work at agencies, they work at brands, they're managers, they work for influencer tech companies, lawyers who specialize in the creator economy, things like that. We certainly we try to always have like really dynamic conversations because I mean, it's literally called influencer marketing. So like if we didn't address the concerns of creators, we would be nuts, right? So like one of our most popular episodes from last year of our podcast, for example, was an interview with an influencer who was like going through this crazy, thing about this. I don't want to name the company that she was having crazy issue with, but her name is Nikkei. And I think that I don't ever want to get too like theoretical and lose sight of who's at the core of our industry and everything that we do. I mean, you have direct, touch with your creators all the time, right? So like you're so close and know and hear from them directly about like what's top of mind to them, like what's most important to them. But I feel like too many people are a little bit too removed from it and start to lose sight of that. And so, yeah, we try to infuse that conversation, like that topic into every conversation, as many conversations as we can. I'm curious, like for you, like what would you say are some of the most top of mind like issues or struggles that like your creators are having these days?
I would say making sure that now that they get to know their community, how do we continue to grow with them and fuel them? And there's a lot of competition now with a lot of people becoming a creator. So how do we evolve their careers? And it's not just sort of like doggy paddling with like current partnerships. We're thinking of what are the ones that we want to build longer term? What are the things that we want to spend time focusing on that may not be an immediate reward, but are important to the growth of your career, whether it's you're writing and producing something, we're doing a podcast next, we're launching a product, we're launching a newsletter. So really focusing with them on the growth of their career so they're not just a washed up creator. That's really, really important.
And like different revenue streams.
And I know we talked earlier about like, which platform should you be on? I wanted to add something there that you don't want to be reliant on just one platform.
Of course.
One platform goes away. What else do you have? So it's important to have a community on at least 2, ideally 3 to 4, and diversify the campaigns you're running. You don't want it to be so top heavy on just one. There will be ebb and flow sometimes. But that's super important. Different revenue streams and not just on platforms. It is, in merchandise or subscriptions. Raven, for example, she was on Love is Blind and she was known to be working out in the pods. She's a master's Pilates instructor. So she has her personal page that she grew and got a ton of following after the show. And she infused some of her Pilates stuff there. And it like maybe didn't hit as much because people are like, who is she dating? What's going on here? And then that was something that was really important to her because that's the future of her career, right? Is honing in on what she does best. So now she's really grown and fostered that community page. We had like a huge growth spurt this time of year. She's over 200,000 followers now, and also with her YouTube, over 250,000 followers there. And she's doing subscription-based workouts, and she's doing an incredible job diversifying her revenue, staying relevant, thinking about the future, always.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I feel like we could keep talking about all of the different ways that the industry is growing, changing, and everything. But I think this has been, I just want to thank you both so much. And Tanya, of course, you as well, for joining us today. If somebody wants to reach out to you, Jessie, and wants to learn more about WIM, what's the best way to do that?
I'll say 2 places. Our website is the best place for people to just learn about WIM in general, which is iamwim.com. It's IAMWIIM, women in influencer marketing.com. And then I am a LinkedIn nerd. So you can definitely find me, Jessie with a Y, Grossman, on LinkedIn. And I'm very active on there. I love that platform.
Okay. And Shoshana?
So you can email me, ask me a question. What's up? WHATSUP at, stay with me, socialmedia.com, SOSHALMEDIA.com. My main inbox is very busy. My WhatsApp one, that's what's up. Like go there. I have a little minute of peace. It's a break from like the campaigns and all the craziness that we have going on. So feel free to shoot me an email or at Shoshcut and at social media on Instagram. We're very active. We're in the streets. So
Love it.
And Tanya, if anyone wants to find you.
I am also a LinkedIn nerd. I love LinkedIn. It's my platform of choice. So Tanya, Tanya, not an I, _ Alain is my last name. It is French, ALAIN. Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for being here and have a great day.
Thanks, guys.
thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.